What else did you find out as a Michigan State University trustee?
MSU, Michigan State University, is a fine and remarkable institution, a great asset for this state and for Midwestern America. And I was very pleased to be able to speak on behalf of a number of but their priorities were so distorted on the Board of Trustees. For example, they badly needed a $50,000 appropriation to buy a microscope for two of the top cancer research people in the country that were right there at Michigan State. Well, they had a terrible time finding that, but they could find $175,000 paying hush money when George Perlis got into all that mess when he left Philadelphia Stars, whatever it was, to come back to Michigan State.
Now, you were on the board when that happened?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Well, what about all that?
I kept saying, wait a minute. He's got a contract. He's breaking a contract, and they say they're going to sue us. And what about? Oh, no, don't worry. So they hire him. And sure enough, the day after Christmas, we get served with a $1 million lawsuit.
Right.
I said, what about that? Oh, don't worry. It's all going to go away. So about 2 weeks later, I get a call from someone in the press. I said, well, Mr. Fletcher, what do you think about this settlement the university's made at paying $175,000 in hush money and $20,000 in legal fees? I said, nobody told me anything about this. What? So I called Cecil Mackey. I said, Cecil, what's going on? Oh, I want to come down and talk to you. So he comes down and tried to placate me. Well, yes, we made this secret deal, and the federal judge issued a gag order. We can't talk about it. Well, I said, you better tell that federal judge to hurry out to Ypsilanti and bring his piano wire, because he's going to wire my jaw shut. I have no intention of not accounting for every penny of the public's money here at Michigan State. And with that, the next day, I blew it all. And, oh, my word, I said, there is no such thing as a pigskin Messiah. I refuse to worship at the cheap and tawdry shrine built to the gods of greater gridiron and glory. There are more important things to this university than the peculiar prancings after a pigskin on a Saturday afternoon. And
okay. Well, now, is the University of Michigan situation with Rich Rodriguez and the University of West Virginia any better of situation than the Perlis and Philadelphia Stars situation?
Here's the problem. Cecil Mackey and I both sat around his office many times, and Cecil said there is no such thing as a clean program in athletics, in the big-time athletics. Now, money, TV, the money is just unbelievable. But I must say that I am a very dear, longtime friend and huge admirer of Bill Martin. Bill Martin came in.
Who's the athletic director?
Yes, at the University of Michigan.
For the University of Michigan.
He came into a really messed up program. He's cleaned it up. He is a straight arrow. And whatever complications they may have at the University of Michigan or in the Michigan Athletic Department are not of his origin or doing. And he will clean it up if that's what it requires. Therefore, I'm a big fan of Bill Martin.
Well, but on the other hand, I must say, the Rich Rodriguez thing all happened on Bill Martin's watch long after he became athletic director.
But remember, Bill Martin cannot be everywhere at everything. Bill Martin juggles many, many responsibilities, and he does them all very well. Plus, I will be the first to confess he's done me many personal kindnesses, and therefore I'm prejudiced. But I have a lot of faith in Bill Martin. Bill Martin leads our bank, which is very successful, and that's all Bill Martin's doing.
All right. Okay, so what else happened at that time? Were you still there when they tried to make Perlis athletic director?
No, that was after my time. That was after my time.
That was long.
That was
long
after my time. And now, of course, he's a trustee of Michigan State. I mean, the people in their infinite wisdom have ignored my warnings. But my warnings have been ignored before.
So
remember, the year after I left the Highway Department, they got right back into another grand jury thing. A contract I would not approve, they snuck through the month after I left. And therefore, I don't like to be I told you so type, but I can't help myself.
Okay. Now, were you out of office by the end of 1982 when Governor Milliken left the governorship?
No. I was overlapped
slightly
Blanchard,
into Blanchard's term.
Yes.
So you go off the MSU board of your own volition, as you say. How many years passed before Governor Blanchard, a Democrat, summoned you to public duty? 2
or 4 years. They needed. We have this peculiar institution called the State Officers Compensation Commission, which is unnecessary and a bad dodge of legislative responsibility, trying to set the governor's salaries, the judges' salaries, the legislative salaries, and so they needed a Republican. And Gary Owen he said, well, I've got this Republican.
Who was the Speaker of the House, a Democrat who was from Ypsilanti, who you knew well.
And we'd worked together very well. And Gary says, well, I've got this guy at Ypsilanti, and Blanchard knew me somewhat. And he said, why don't we appoint Fletcher? Oh, okay. So I reluctantly, here again. And go up, because this is a useless commission performing an idiotic responsibility that shouldn't be ours. and insulated from the public. It just makes no sense. I want complete disclosure of everything. When I was on the Highway Commission, there were no executive sessions, no conference telephone calls, nothing. The door was physically blocked open to every commission meeting. There were, I mean, sorry, I want it absolutely open.
By the way, at Michigan State Board, just to sidebar for a second here, was there secrecy there, or was it as open as you would have liked?
Not when I was there wasn't any secrecy. They tried to have some of those, and it didn't work. And the final, they had a secret meeting when they were hiring DiBiagio after Cecil left, and they ended up a secret meeting.
Were you still there?
Yes, I was still there. And they said, so they had this secret meeting. Therefore, about a
secret meeting without you?
Yeah, exactly. They didn't tell me about it.
You mean some members of the board had a secret meeting?
No, they convened a secret meeting without me to finish up this deal with the presidency.
Because they were afraid you'd blow the whistle.
Right. So this was about 2 months before the end of my term anyway, and I said, I'm done, through. I'm out. I'm not going to be part of this. And I left. So they had no farewell for me. Imagine that.
So you actually resigned?
Yes,
physically before the end of your term?
I submitted to Governor Blanchard. I said, I will not be part
of
this.
What did you think of the hiring of DiBiagio, by the way?
Well,
I mean,
DiBiagio,
beyond the messiness of the process.
No, but DiBiagio was okay. He was okay.
Yeah. But he had a hard time too.
Oh, of course, because he had an impossible board. These elected boards for university. I mean, Michigan is one of the half a dozen states or so where they elect directly.
Right.
An idiotic system.
Right. We're the only state that elects our three major higher education board and our state board of education statewide.
And it's electoral Russian roulette.
I mean, it's really bad.
Dreadful. It's dreadful.
Did you think the board members were really not up to snuff, most of them?
The whole problem was they were far more interested in what they were going to get out of it. See, pay was forbidden, but you could get actual expenses reimbursed.
Right.
Well, they wanted free football tickets. They wanted free rides on the planes to any bowl games. They wanted free everything. Free. They got down to they were arguing over getting a free library card. Wait a minute. I said, folks, what's wrong with just taking the sense that you performed a duty faithfully on behalf of the public? That's all the compensation I want. But oh no, they wanted all these perks. I wouldn't take a one of them.
All right. Well, when you finally get appointed,
they had cars that were assigned to them. Everything.
They had cars?
Oh yeah.
Really? As trustees?
Crazy.
But you turned it down.
Nope. Wouldn't take a thing.
Okay, but you finally get appointed to a board is a good one. Was the state officers' compensation? I mean, they hardly ever meet, right?
Well, that was
a great meet like
plus,
once every 2 years. That was a big plus.
And I'll tell you though, what satisfaction I got from that. Soapy Williams was the Chief Justice. He was just finishing up. So his last day in public office was December 31 some year, and he came over to speak on behalf of judicial salaries. And as he finished up, I said, just a moment, ladies and gentlemen, Governor Williams, Chief Justice Williams, and I are on opposite sides of the political fence, but I would be remiss in my duties as a public official if I were not to stop and put on the record of this commission. This is the final public appearance, the final public responsibility that this distinguished citizen of Michigan is performing. Right. And I want the record to show that we all applaud his service to the people of the state of Michigan. You may not agree with his policy decisions, but you could not disagree with his motives in serving all of the people of Michigan. Right. And I want to thank him on behalf of our 6 million citizens.
Wow. And that was his last public appearance.
That's right.
Really.
Right. And I got a very nice letter from Soapy afterwards. He said, Peter, that was very kind, and we certainly didn't have to do it, but I said I felt compelled to, Governor.
Well, that's good. So he, in other words, he was arguing on behalf of hiking judicial
Right,
pay.
Of course, because we were having judges that were having to borrow from payday to payday and that kind of stuff.
What did you think, generally speaking, as a member of that commission, even though you felt it was an unnecessary administrative and executive appendage that shouldn't even exist, did you feel that their mission in looking at pay for public officials was valid in the sense somebody had to do it, and
as long as we were stuck with the responsibility, let's do the best job we can.
Yeah. Did you feel that public officials, most of them, were underpaid and that they should have at least cost of living increases every 2 years, which is basically what the commission
Right. But I believe that public officials should be paid appropriate salaries commensurate with the private sector so that we could recruit the best and brightest to seek public office. We shouldn't restrict public office to those who only can afford it through their private means. But by the same token, we should then be more responsible in who we put in those offices.
So did you get a backlash from the public and the news media every time you made these recommendations, and then the legislature at that time could allow them to just take effect without even voting on it? And there was a lot of controversy from time to time.
We never heard from anyone.
You never did?
No, because I made them institute public hearings around the state on what we were doing. Nobody showed up.
No,
No, but at least we could say, if you've got a complaint, where were you?